Thank you, sir. You may be seated. Thank you for that very thought-provoking speech. I have never seen so much insight in our national anthem. It's powerful. Our next speaker is Dr. Andrew S. Nevin. Dr. Andrew is a partner, chief economist and financial services advisory leader in PwC Nigeria. He's one of PwC's leading global thinkers working at the intersection of economic strategy and regulation. Dr. Nevin has almost 30 years of professional experience as an economist, strategy consultant, and private equity investor. In 2011, he was named Strategy Consultant of the Year by the Management Consultants Association in the UK. As financial services advisory leader, Andrew has helped several Nigerian banks solve business challenges relating to strategy, technology, operations, and regulation. He has also helped global companies across various industries evaluate their options for expanding their businesses in Nigeria and in Africa. As chief economist, he has led the writing of PwC Nigeria's white papers, including Looking Beyond Oil, the Impact of Corruption on the Nigerian Economy, in January 2016, which showed that Nigeria's GDP will be over 100 billion larger if it had the same level of corruption as Ghana. He also frequently comments on the Nigerian economy on TV and on print media. Andrew started his career at McKinsey & Co., serving in the Toronto and Paris offices. He holds a PhD in economics from Harvard University and MA in philosophy and politics from Baylor University, Oxford, and a BSc in computer science and mathematics from the University of Western Ontario, Canada. Today, he's speaking at the platform on Nigeria's need for foreign capital to grow. Let us welcome to the platform Dr. Andrew S. Nevin.
Thank you. Is the mic on? Can you hear me? Should I use this one? Is that better? So, sorry, I normally wander around, but my friends from Channels have put this here, so I'm going to have to stay put. First, it's just an absolute honor and delight to be here, the Covenant Center, to invite me. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed the speeches ahead of mine. I hope what I have to say is interesting and helpful. But let me start just a couple more words about me. I have been coming to Nigeria for more than 10 years. And a little over 5 years ago, I moved to Nigeria. I live here full time. So I'm paid in Naira. And I pay for my own car. I pay for my own housing. I have a mortgage. It's 21%. In fact, I bought property here. So the first speaker was very, very helpful for me personally. But we're all in this together. So the title of my talk is about the need for foreign investment in Nigeria, and I hope to be able to make that case to you today. But I think even better title for my talk would be some just the mathematics of Nigeria's economic and social situation. So I have slides, and I'm going to show you some numbers I think that are very important to everyone in this room, everyone in the country, to all the leaders in business and government, because it presents a set of challenges and opportunities that if we don't succeed, we're all going to rue the Nigeria not reaching its potential. So I want to start with this slide. It's a little small. I'll talk through it on that. So what this slide shows is the 30 largest economies in the world, and it ranks them by the growth in population and working age population. That's why there's 2 bars for each country. And on the far right of this graph, you can't read it, but I'll tell you, there's Poland. So Poland has a situation where its population is shrinking, its working age population is shrinking, and that presents unique challenges. In the middle, there's a lot of countries where there's not much growth. I mean, global population growth has come down, so we shouldn't expect much growth. But on the far left, there's two bars together for the working age and the total population. What country do you think that is? Someone want to guess? Why did I bring the slide? On the far left is Nigeria. Now it is, of the top countries, large countries, is growing the fastest in population terms, fastest in working age population. But if you look carefully at the graph, not only is it growing faster, there is a big gap between Nigeria and the next country, which is Bangladesh. We are growing by far faster than any other large country. Now, what are the implications of that? By 2050, Nigeria is projected to be the world's most third populous country. Now, if you think about this for a moment, for everyone in this room, for everyone watching, for everyone on this planet, for their entire life, there have only been 3 countries that are the most populous, which are China, India, and the United States. There's only been one change in order, which is when India's population overtook China because of the one-child policy. In your lifetime, this is going to change, and we are going to be the 3rd most populous country. As I said, that comes with great opportunity, but it also comes with great responsibility, and it also has some economic implications that we're going to talk about this morning. So if we just go on, again, you can't read it, but you can see there's a little bit of highlighting in yellow. So from a PwC perspective, we see the Nigerian economy moving from 22nd in the world to 14th in the world. Of course, we won't be richest per capita, because at that time we'll be the 3rd most populous, but we'll certainly be richer today. There'll be much less poverty if we could manage the economic growth, the inclusive economic growth that were possible. Now, as good as 14th in the world is in 2050, sadly, we've gone backwards. When PwC published this in 2015, we actually thought Nigeria would be the 9th largest economy. We'd be in the top 10 economies by 2050. But because we've lost the last 2 years in terms of economic development, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to catch up. But still, this is an optimistic scenario, and it's what we need to do to make sure that we lift millions and millions of people out of poverty. So how does this all relate to investment? I think sometimes when you think about GDP growth, you're presented with this headline number, but it's difficult to relate it to the investment that's required to do it. So we heard the first speaker talk, for example, invest in yourself. You have to have education, you have to go gather skills, it takes resources to do that. So we need to grow. Now, I said before that we're growing at almost 3% population growth. We need to grow at least 5%, 6 or 7% would be better a year to stay ahead of the population growth. If we're only growing 3% a year, we're standing still. Poverty is not declining. If we only grow 2%, we're actually going backwards. If we only grow 4%, we're not making much of a difference. So we need to grow at a minimum of 5%, as I said, but 6 or 7% is better. So what are the implications of that? So this graph, I don't think it came out, the color's a little difficult. It actually has 3 lines, and unfortunately the Nigerian line is at the bottom. So I'll step away and show you on the microphone, from this microphone in a minute. But what this shows is the gross investment level of 3 countries. So the top line is China, the middle line is India, and the bottom line, which is right here at about 15%, is Nigeria. So we all know the China growth story. I went to China the first time in 1983 as a student. I lived there for 10 years. In 1983, there was not a single private car. Within 25 years, after growing at 7 to 9%, you had 500 people lifted out of poverty, and you were the largest market for private cars, the largest producer of private cars in the world. So I've seen firsthand what can happen when you have inclusive economic development. But China invests about 45% of its GDP a year invests about 45% of its GDP. Now, some argue that's a bit too high. I think it's too high. I think sometimes the Chinese waste the resources they have. They build cities that are not used. So I don't think that's a good target for Nigeria. A better target is the second line, which is India. And another one of our distinguished speakers mentioned India. I think India is a real success story on the world stage. Again, hundreds of millions of people being lifted out of poverty. They invest around 30% of their GDP each year to drive that 6-7% growth. So that's the sort of number that Nigeria needs to invest to make sure that we get that growth. But as I said, the line that you can't see at the bottom, because it's too yellow, has us at about 15%. So our challenge is the gap between investing 15% of our economy, 15% and 30%. Now what happens when you invest 15%? 15% is barely depreciation. So you're just replacing the capital you use up each year. You won't grow. And let me give you an example. How many people in this room, if you're, maybe no one wants to admit it, how many people in this room have bought a new car in 2017? I don't see many hands. I'm not surprised. I was talking to one of the MDs of the auto importers who told me the number of new cars he sold in a month was, it's such a small number I won't even